Welcome, coin lovers. Today we dive into the fascinating world of Canadian pennies, specifically the 1999, 2007, and 2011 Canadian 1-cent coins. Each of these coins may look simple at first glance, but they carry with them decades of history, unique design features, special minting details, and even surprising collector stories that make them much more than just small change. Stay with me, because you might just discover that the penny in your pocket is worth more than you think. The 1999 Canadian 1-cent coin. Let's begin our journey with the 1999 Canadian 1-cent coin. This coin is particularly interesting because it was minted on the eve of a brand new millennium. Canada were preparing for the year 2000, and coins from this transitional year have become important markers of modern Canadian history. The obverse of the 1999 penny features a familiar portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Dora de Petterhunt. This effigy was first introduced in 1990 and shows the Queen wearing the tiara of King George VI's mother, Queen Mary. It is a regal yet approachable portrait that Canadians had grown accustomed to by the late 1990s. Turning to the reverse, we see the iconic maple leaf twig design by George Kruger Gray, first introduced on Canadian pennies in 1937. The twin maple leaves sprouting from a single stem symbolize Canada's strength and unity. This timeless design endured for decades, making the penny one of the most recognizable Canadian coins ever produced. When it comes to composition, the 1999 penny was made of 98.4% zinc and plated with 1.6% copper. This was part of Canada's move away from the earlier bronze alloy in order to reduce costs, as the metal value of coins was creeping too close to their face value. The Royal Canadian Mint produced an impressive number of these coins, 1.089 billion pieces in 1999 alone. With such high mintage, it may seem that these coins are common, but condition and errors make some examples stand out. Indeed, one of the most fascinating aspects of the 1999 penny is the existence of certain error coins. For example, there are reports of misstrikes, off-cent strikes, and even examples where the copper plating shows bubbles or peeling. These errors can raise the value of a coin far above its nominal worth. Collectors often prize 1999 pennies in high-grade uncirculated condition, especially those preserved in mint sets. While a circulated example might only be worth face value, an uncirculated or certified specimen can bring in $2 to $5, and rare errors may fetch $50 or more depending on severity. The 1999 penny is also significant because it represents the closing chapter of the 20th century. For collectors, it's more than just a coin. It's a physical reminder of Canada's transition into the modern era, making it a sentimental and historical keepsake. The 2007 Canadian 1-cent coin. Moving forward, let's talk about the 2007 Canadian 1-cent coin. At first glance, it looks almost identical to the 1999 issue, but there are important differences hidden in the details. On the obverse, we still see Queen Elizabeth II, but this time it is a portrait created by Susanna Blunt, introduced in 2003. This effigy is notable for showing the Queen without a crown or tiara, projecting a more modern and approachable image of the monarch. This change in portrait was a major shift in Canadian coinage. The reverse again displays George Kruger Gray's beloved maple leaf design. By 2007, the design had already been in use for 70 years, making it one of the most enduring coin motifs in Canada's history. In terms of composition, the 2007 penny was now made of 94% steel, 1.5% nickel, and plated with 4.5% copper. This shift from zinc to steel was another cost-saving measure by the Royal Canadian Mint. The steel core gives these coins a slightly magnetic property, something you can test at home with a small magnet. The mintage of the 2007 penny was also enormous. The Royal Canadian Mint struck 938 million coins that year. Despite the high numbers, these coins are still popular with collectors because of their transitional role in Canadian coinage. Interestingly, some 2007 pennies are known for errors, including double dies where the date or lettering shows a faint shadow-like doubling. Such varieties are rare but can dramatically increase the value of a coin. In the collector market, circulated 2007 pennies are still only worth about face value. However, uncirculated examples in pristine condition may be worth $1 to $3, while certified high-grade pieces or error coins can reach $20 or more. Paragraph 16. The 2007 penny is also important because it reflects Canada's constant efforts to modernize coin production. By this time, the penny was already becoming costly to produce, and debates about its future were beginning to gain traction. For that reason, 2007 pennies mark an important step on the road toward the eventual retirement of the denomination, the 2011 Canadian 1-cent coin. Finally, let's examine the 2011 Canadian 1-cent coin. This coin carries a particularly special place in history, as it was among the final years of production for the Canadian penny. The obverse still features Susanna Blunt's uncrowned portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, which by this point had become the standard face of Canadian coinage. This portrait symbolizes continuity and stability while also reflecting a modern monarchy. On the reverse, George Kruger Gray's maple leaf design makes its last appearances before the penny's discontinuation. For collectors, this design takes on a nostalgic value, as it reminds Canadians of a coin that had been part of their lives for generations. Paragraph 20. The 2011 penny, like its 2007 counterpart, was made of 94% steel, 1.5% nickel, and plated with 4.5% copper. Its magnetic property remains a defining characteristic of late Canadian pennies. The Royal Canadian Mint struck 640 million pennies in 2011, a lower number than in previous decades, but still a substantial mintage. This reduction reflects a declining demand for pennies as Canadians increasingly turn to digital and electronic payments. Error coins from 2011 include die cracks and misaligned strikes, which are always of interest to collectors. While not as dramatic as earlier minting errors, they still command premium prices in auctions and coin shows. In terms of value, circulated 2011 pennies are still worth only a cent or two. However, uncirculated coins or mint set specimens can sell for $2 to $4, and certain error coins can go much higher. But beyond monetary value, the 2011 penny holds historical significance. Just a year later, in 2012, the Canadian government announced that the penny would be retired. By 2013, pennies were officially withdrawn from circulation, making the 2011 issue one of the very last regular circulation penny Canadians would ever use. This gives the 2011 penny an emotional weight. It is not just a coin, but a farewell to an entire denomination. For many collectors, this makes it a must-have in any Canadian coin collection. Collecting and legacy. When we look at the 1999, 2007, and 2011 pennies together, we see more than just small copper-colored coins. We see the evolution of Canadian currency across three distinct eras. The 1999 penny represents the end of the 20th century and the transition into a new millennium. It carries with it the history of Canada's past while pointing to the future. The 2007 penny symbolizes technological and economic change, with the introduction of steel-based coins and continued debates about whether the penny still had a place in modern commerce. The 2011 penny serves as a swan song, the final chapter of the denomination's long journey, marking the end of an era for Canadian currency. Each of these coins has its own story, but together they form a narrative that reflects Canada's identity, history, and adaptability. Collectors value these coins not just for their monetary worth, but for the history they represent. For many, owning these pennies is like holding a piece of Canadian heritage in the palm of your hand. And while their face value may only be 1 cent, their historical and sentimental value makes them priceless to those who appreciate their story. As you examine your own pocket change, you might come across a 1999, 2007, or 2011 penny. If you do, take a closer look. It might not just be a coin. It might be a silent witness to Canada's journey through time. These pennies remind us that even the smallest coins can carry the biggest stories, and that sometimes history is hidden in plain sight. So next time you see a Canadian penny, remember the journey we've taken today, and know that what looks like small change could be a big treasure in disguise. Thank you for joining me on this journey through Canadian coin history. Today, we explored the 1999 Canadian 1 cent, the 2007 Canadian 1 cent, and the 2011 Canadian 1 cent, each with its own story, its own design, and its own legacy. These coins may no longer jingle in our pockets, but their history continues to shine brightly in collections around the world. Stay tuned for more stories from the fascinating world of coins, and remember, every coin has a story waiting to be told.